My name is Mark Thompson. You may also know me as Mark Techson, right? Techson. And I'm a senior developer relations engineer at Google, and I'm working on the Angular team. And this is a story about building the next generation of web applications. And let me tell you how this story starts. So here's what happened. The web is changing. Now, something really interesting just blew my mind. I literally had to cover my ears to keep my brains from flowing out because my mind was blown by this. You see, when I started writing web applications, I'm going to date myself, almost 20 years ago, what we wrote was so simple. We couldn't really do much. We wrote code in a language called Perl, and when you want to deploy, you know what you did? You dragged the file from your computer over FTP to the server. You were Heroku, you were Vercel, you see what I'm saying? You were Google Cloud. You did all the work. And what happened a couple of weeks ago is Photoshop, Adobe, they released Photoshop for the web. Now, it was impressive that that software even existed, and now you can do it on the web. That is an engineering marvel, in my opinion. And here's what else is happening. Now that the web is changing, the expectations are changing. People want more. They want faster applications. They want more interaction. They want better experiences. And because of that, somebody else is changing. And I bet you can figure out who it is. It's y'all. You all are changing. You know what? As developers, you are changing. You want more, so now you're changing. You want more as developers. You want tools that help you build applications to meet the needs of your users. And here's what I think has happened. Okay, we're almost there. We've changed. Okay, just work. You know what? Can we give a big hand for Beth for just working with me real quick? Thank you. Just be my clicker. I got you. Okay, so here's how we're going to do it today. So we've changed, right? When I say we, I'm talking about the Angular team. Angular has been around for a long time, it seems like, in the space, because right when the first frameworks came out, AngularJS was one of the first ones. We led the way. And then, guess what happened? We came out with Angular, dropped the JS. Not a great idea, right? We should have changed the whole name. People still get confused about this. Our bad, right? But then Angular came out. And so here's what had to happen. The game had to change. And now we believe that Angular is ready to meet not only the needs of the users, but to meet the needs of the developers. Let me tell you how. How do we even know that we can meet those needs? How do we know what you want? We know it because we are an evidence-driven team. Here's what we do now. Instead of just doing what we think is right, we listen to the community. Isn't that strange? Right? Like someone's like, why y'all do that? I know. It took us some time to figure it out, but now we listen and we take data. We do user studies. We do more. We're evidence-driven. So here's one study that we did. Next, please. And then here's what we got. We got more than 10,000 responses from this survey that we did just of the users, Angular users. That's a lot of evidence, a lot of data to let us know. And here's what the streets told us. Angular got to be easier to learn, and there has to be less sharp edges. We can go a couple more. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, fewer sharp. Okay, right there. That's perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So what I mean by that, right? Easier to learn. Anybody ever heard this story? You cannot hurt my feelings. My feelings are not at risk, I promise you. Anybody ever heard the story that Angular is hard to learn? Yeah, look, you can put your hands up. It don't hurt my feelings. I mean, I still get paid no matter what. Well, Angular is hard to learn. We heard that, and we've improved it. So here's what we did. We rewrote our beginning learning journey from scratch, simplified it, made it more approachable to developers. And then if that wasn't enough, here's what else we did. That's me on those videos. So if you like watching me, you can watch me teach that same course. We actually made it a video course. Why? We're serving developers where they are. Some people want to read the story. Some people want to watch and be instructed. We have you with both. But that's not even enough. Let me tell you what else we did. We partnered with a company that is really good at teaching developers how to code through small bite-sized lessons. The company's called SoloLearn. And then they made a course based off the materials that we provided. And so this is how their course looks. It's kind of like Duolingo, if you ever used that platform before, right? And it's like Duolingo for code. Yeah, pretty awesome. 70,000 people took that course, by the way. Just when they launched it about a month ago in beginning of September. They got 70,000 users who took it so far. So we're really trying to serve developers. And then here's how we're trying to fix some of the other problems. We're really focused on smooth updates and then moving the web ecosystem forward. And we have this tooling called NG Update. So what this tooling does for you, it helps move your platform from, let's say, version 15 up to the next version that you can specify or up to a future version. And here's the magic. 70% of Angular developers, organizations using Angular, 70% are within the last 2 versions. Now, why does that number seem interesting or important? Let me tell you why. We release 2 versions per year, one in the spring, one in the fall. So people are usually within 1 year of the latest updates, which is really fantastic for them because they get to take advantage of all of the future, of all our new features. KLM, they get 500 million, so 500 million website views. They're at Angular Shop. They update to the latest version, and it only takes them a few hours to do that. And that's because we've put so much effort into the tooling. All right, I got to keep going because you know what's happening? I got a lot to say, and I'm running out of time. All right, so let's go forward a little bit. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you what's new and what's now. What's now means these are things that you can use right now. You can download Angular right now and do these things, and I'm going to show you some stuff that is going to change the game. So in the time of frameworks, Angular has had times where we've introduced features that have changed the way web frameworks work. And then we've also learned from other frameworks. But today I'm going to show you something that we believe is that next point in history where people will look back and say, wow, Angular did that, and now look at how the industry is better. Look at how all the frameworks have adopted and moved forward. All right, let's roll with it. Let's talk about something that's what's now you can do. Standalone APIs. If you ever used Angular before, we had this idea that we thought was a good idea at the time. It's called modules. Y'all laugh because it's true. It's funny. It is funny. It's modules. This idea you can organize your code and your dependencies. Sounds really great, but guess what it does? It really complicates things for people, especially when you're learning. Let me show you what it took. Don't try to read this. This is not accessible, and it's really small, so don't try to read it. But just take a note of how much of it is. This is a Hello World app. Some of y'all are like, what? Why would you have so much stuff? Let me show you what we changed it to. This is what you do now. Whole Angular applications, top to bottom, the whole thing. Much smaller. Why? Because we've removed those sharp edges. See, the sharp edges are the parts of Angular that you had to know too much about things just to get it to work. Nobody likes to work like that. And we understand that, so we're doing better. Let's keep going. This is another problem we had. When I say a module, some of y'all probably thought, well, did he mean like ECMAScript modules, or did he mean something else? I mean, I get it. That's a confusing point. So now that modules are optional, you have a better experience. If you already have an Angular application, anybody here using Angular at work by any chance? All right, I got something for you. This will make you happy. If you want to move up and you want to get rid of not get rid of your modules, that's the wrong way to say it. If you want to migrate away from modules, okay, start using standalone, we got tooling for you. So we'll help smooth out that migration. You don't have to think about that. We'll smooth it out for you. If you want to do an application without modules from the start, at the time of this, you just have to use this flag --standalone. In a couple of weeks, when we do our next release, you won't even have to do that. It'll be standalone by default. Now, here's where things get really, really interesting. And we're getting to that point, that magic point. All right, let's keep going. Right now, Angular does reactivity, which is just this idea that when your state changes, how does your application respond? How does the UI update? We have a very complicated process that was great when we thought of it, but we found out over time it was limiting. We use something called zones. In React, you do set state when you want to change the screen. In Angular, you don't do anything. You just make your changes. And guess what happens? Everything just works. That sounds fantastic, but at scale, it doesn't just work. It becomes problematic. So we're improving that. Let me show you how. We're using signals. Anyone ever heard of a signal before or a signal-based application? Don't worry if you haven't, because I got you covered. Let's keep going. So here's what a signal is. We have 3 parts to signals. Signals are a reactivity system where, let's keep going. If you look at a basic signal, here's the magic. A signal knows, it's like a variable, a container with some data in it that knows where it's being used. Okay, that's the first part. But it also knows when it changes. And it can notify the parts of the application where it's being used that value has changed. Now, we didn't create this, but remember I said that Angular team is like learning from other teams? Yeah, we saw this and like, this is smart. This is a good solution. So we will also move forward with this. Let's keep going. All right, and then you have computed, which is like a type of signal, but here's the magic with computed. If you have multiple signals that you want to compose together, think first name and last name. You can also generate full name from that, right? But if you generate full name and you change one of the names, you can get things out of sync. Well, here's what computed helps with that. If you do a computed, which is another variable that just knows when things change, it can tell you where it is in the application, you can also get the value where it'll update itself as well. And then we have effect. This is the last part of the signal story. Effect is really, really magical because this is the idea that something does change. You might want to do something in response. And so then you have the option to do something in response with an effect. We can keep going. I got to keep moving. We move past all that. I'll say this. All these slides are telling you is that here's where we're going with signals. We're going to simplify your development. All right, we're going to make your development experience better. You won't have to learn so much about the internals of Angular, and you'll be able to adopt patterns that maybe you've learned in other frameworks that use signals. You'll be able to do that same thing in Angular. All right. Here's the best part, though. One thing we do on the Angular team, one of our tenets, we do not like to break our users. So when you go from Angular, let's say 15 to 16, if we introduce something new in 16, we give you a backwards compatible way to continue doing what you're doing, but get the parts that you want. So if you're not ready for signals, take your time. We'll be waiting for you. If you know anything about RxJS and observables in that space, you might say, well, Mark, if you're doing signals, do I need observables? Yeah, because they solve two different problems. So far, developers have had to use observables, this idea of unpredictable streams of data that happen asynchronously. They've had to use that to solve problems that they didn't have better tools for. Now you can focus on that space. You can focus on asynchronous, unpredictable streams of data that happen. Use RxJS where that makes sense. Use signals to manage your state. All right, so let me tell you where we're going in the future. We got optional zones. So remember I told you that like kind of automatic state update? We're going to make that optional to improve your performance. Local change detection. It's going to change the way when the reactivity happens, we're going to make it better for you. Make everything simplified, and we're going to try to evolve the ecosystem. What do I say about that? It's like this. So yes, signals is just a pattern. We're going to see if we can help to improve it for everyone as well. We're going to see what we can do. All right, let's skip this one. I want you to try that right now. I got another link for you at the end. All right, you can try this right now. Let's keep going. All right, Angular on the server. Everyone was server-side when we first started this web development game. Everything was server-side. You rendered on the server and sent everything to the client. Then around 2010, 2009, people were like, what about Ajax? Maybe we can do some things on the client side and not everything on the server. Then we went all the way and said, don't do anything on the server but data and do everything on the client. And guess what we're doing now? Well, I mean, we could do some stuff on the server again, and we can't do something on the client, and so now we have this hybrid model, right? That's what we are now. So Angular has improved on this whole story with hydration. So before, here's what we used to do. I mean, we did our best, right? We would render your application on the server, ship that to the client, and then at the client, we'd have to re-render everything to get Angular to actually be interactive with you, all right? So let me show you what it gave to you. So you get this problem. See that flicker? The flicker came because we gave you the original page, so your users got to see something. But before they could interact, we had to get involved. Okay, so now here's what we're doing. You're just going to do better. Now we're going to do hydration as you know it, right? You pre-render on the server, ship it to the client, and we're just going to attach things, right? Attach event handlers, attach the interaction, and then you get rid of that flicker. So this is us just coming in line with everything. But guess what? You may say, well, Mark, I want this nice stuff. How do I get it? Well, here's how you get the nice stuff. There's one line. That's it. So if you're an Angular app user right now, there's one line. Just add that line, and you get the magic, okay? And then, wait, we're going to make it better for you. All right, You can enable it when you create an application. We'll scaffold out your whole server-side thing for you to get you started. We also got some new lifecycle hooks that'll help your life be better, because there comes challenges when you do server-side rendering. There are some challenges that get introduced, and one of those things is timing. When do I enable my fancy chart widget? When do I enable some of these other things that happen on the client side? I need to know when the right time is. So we have our after next render is one of our new event handlers, lifecycle events, where you'll be able to get involved that way, right? This can improve your cumulative, that's a hard word to say, cumulative layout shift up to 40%. And that's when your page shifts up when things start popping in. You can improve that by like 40 times if you do server-side rendering first, okay? And then because of hydration, your largest contentful paint is just better, it's faster. And anytime your lighthouse scores go up and those web metrics go up, users have a better experience. You can use this now. Right now, you can try it, okay? All right, now here's the real magic. So it's two parts. First thing is this. We had to change the way that we did control flow, meaning conditional rendering on pages. Hold on, I got to check my time because I've been talking a lot, and I don't want them to come up there with the hook to kind of pull me down off the stage. I'm okay. I'm all right. Let's keep going. All right, so let me tell you what we had at first. Let's keep going. All right, so this is how you do if, else in a template. Now, if you feel confused by this, I agree with you. When I first started learning Angular, when I first joined the team, I was like, what is this? It's hard to reason about, but let me read this to you. So first, you got ngIf. Okay, that feels pretty good. So that tells me that if a user is human, if this expression is true, then I want to render this human profile, right? But else, hashtag robot, like robot matter or something? I don't know what that means. That is hard to reason about. But what that's actually saying is otherwise go down to the next template, right? And then you render this robot profile. That is really hard to read for someone coming into Angular. Remember the story about Angular being hard to learn? Yeah, we didn't hear that and be like, man, y'all lying. It's easy. No, we get it. It was complicated. We're making it better. Let me show you how. This is the new syntax that we're releasing. Anybody in this room who's had any experience with programming can read this and then know, it can reason about what's happening. So first you got your if, and then you got your human profile will be rendered. But now you have a nice syntax for else if. And then here's the nice part, else. Just a clean else. Right? That's nice. And then you can do that. That's just a much nicer experience. I'm moving my hand like this, and Beth is amazing. Can we just give her just one more round of applause? She's just in the building crushing it. And I'm sorry if I'm just doing this, this is being weird. All right, so we had to introduce this syntax to get where we're here now. Now, this is the part that I told you that we're going to change the way you write web applications. Declarative lazy loading and prefetching. Now, somebody just said, man, we already got lazy loading. You do, but not like this. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say that I want to lazy load the recommended movies component only when there has been an interaction with the button that says load recommended movies. Now, some of you are like, yes, we know how to do this in our framework, so we already know how to do it. But this is what you can do coming up. This is our new syntax. So first, we have this new defer. Now, this is at the template level. Most of your lazy loading happens where? At the router level. That's where you define everything. Right, you define it at the router level. This is in your template. This is declarative. At the template level, I'm saying this component, recommended movies, only happens when there's an interaction with that trigger. So now that hashtag, that's actually a reference variable. So we're saying if you interact with that button, then you load recommended movies. All right, well, it gets better. What about when it's loading? What happens then when it's loading? Okay, display this then. What if something goes wrong? Okay, then I got the oops, sorry. Well, wait, what about before anything even happens? Okay, then I got my image placeholder. These triggers are powerful, right? So you just saw interaction. Guess what else we're bringing out here? We got idle. So if the browser sends the idle state, you got that. We got on and immediate, so just immediate loading. There might be a use case you want to do that, okay? You got on a timer, so maybe you want to wait a second before you start the loading. Maybe when it scrolls into the viewport, or like I said, or the interaction. But look at how robust all of this is, right? Imagine what you can do for lazy loading in your templates. This is not at the router level. This is, you just write it there. You don't need any magic now, right? This is special. But you might be saying, Mark, we can do this. Suspense does a lot of this stuff. And listen, everything is great. Everything is great. React is great. Vue is great. Sales, everything is great. I'm just saying what we're doing with this. But here, I think we can do even better. How about custom triggers? Okay, fine. Let's say you got this button that every time you click on the button, you add 1. Okay, then I can do this. When the count is 5 loaded. So now you got a custom expression that you can put in there to define in your application for your needs what's going to happen next. But can we do better? All right, here's what I need you to do. Can you put your hands by your sides if you're able? Do that for me. Put your hands by your sides. Hold on to your seats. Okay. All right, so now we have prefetching. So here's how you can combine what you already do with the deferred load, and that was already one special thing. Let me show you how prefetching comes into play. So now you can do something very powerful. All right, so you can defer this thing, right? On interaction with the trigger that we saw, and you can prefetch. So let's say that the trigger never doesn't happen in time, but you know they're going to need that component. Fine, put a prefetch in there. So if the idle state happens in the browser, it'll start loading for you. Or you can put an expression in there. I mean, this is pretty magic. How was that? Honestly, was that okay? If that was okay, give me a double clap. Okay. Here's the magic. Upgrade to the latest version of Angular to get all of this stuff, and then use it when you are ready. Because guess what? If you're a person using ngIf and some of the older stuff we have, it still works. We don't break you. It still works, and you migrate when you're ready, and we're sending you tooling to migrate you and help you on that path. So I told you, Angular is ready because your users want more. You want more as a developer. You want more powerful tools. You want more customization. The reason I think that the first stuff is important is because you have some users who have a 5G network connection. They have fiber internet. Then you have some users who have 1G, or they're only on satellites, right? And now you can break up your application at the template level to bring the small parts in when you're ready, right? I mean, you can serve more users. Your applications are better. They're more robust. Angular is ready to support you on that journey. Now, we got some magic happening on November 6th. I'm hosting an event online. Don't worry, you can't go, so don't even try to buy no tickets. But you can watch for free online. Just check out our YouTube channel, and that's where you'll be able to find us there. And I don't care what you use. I told you, everything is great. Literally, and I do mean that, everything is great. But no matter what you do, I encourage you to go out there and build great apps. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, friends. All my links, scan the code. Anything I talked about, slides, everything is there. I appreciate you, and thank you again, Beth, for so much. Thank you for just working through this with us.